12B. This is an issue I'm very passionate about for so many reasons. Food allergies are serious, and sometimes they can be instantly fatal. The CDC reports that the prevalence of food allergies in children have increased by 50% between 1997 and 2011. Between 1997 and 2008, the prevalence of nut allergies have more than tripled in the United States. Tonight, I am ecstatic to introduce a public health ordinance related to food allergies that will positively benefit 30% of families. This will be the boldest, strictest, and most impactful food allergy law in both the state of New Jersey and in the United States. It requires every facility that serves food or beverages to have a menu that clearly indicates allergens in each of their foods. Caterers who serve in Edison, for example, in a buffet line, will also have to indicate the allergens in their dishes. The allergy-friendly menu will have to notate which items on their menus contain the FDA's 8 most common allergens, which are milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, soybeans, as well as MSG and sulfites. This ordinance will go into effect within 60 days of passing. To be clear, restaurants in Edison will not have to make or offer new food or beverage items. The purpose of this law, which is so long overdue, is to bring awareness of potentially fatal allergens in foods. Data has shown that the most common area for individuals to have an allergic reaction due to miscommunication is first a locally owned restaurant, a banquet hall due to a caterer's error, and schools. It is not acceptable for restaurants or caterers to not know what they are serving. It is not acceptable for a server to plead unaware. It is not acceptable to make a fatal mistake. If you are serving food in the 5th largest municipality in New Jersey, we're sending a clear message with this law. Know your ingredients. No excuses. The notion that an EpiPen would completely alleviate a reaction is dangerous. For those who have hypersensitivity, an EpiPen often only gives a person an additional 25 minutes of a lifeline before the body goes into anaphylactic shock again. Another dangerous misconception is that people can build a tolerance with more consumption of the same allergen. This is 100% entirely false. Each subsequent reaction is exponentially worse. I've made a sample of what our caterer's label will have to look like. It's the item with the allergens listed below. The implementation of this ordinance requires a trivial amount of time and effort because federal law implemented the Food Allergen Labeling and Consumer Protection Act in 2004, which requires every single food label distributed in the entire country to list in bold letters if the item contains the 8 main allergens. Even foreign foods that are distributed in the U.S. are subjected to the same labeling law. This means that a restaurant would probably need to spend less than 3 minutes per item sourcing their label to abide by this law. The reality is that for reasons unknown, food allergies are far more prevalent than they have ever been or ever been before. To the 10% of children growing up right now that have food allergies, to their parents and anyone who has dealt with food allergies, including the father who called me last year insisting on legislation because his daughter died from miscommunication of a caterer's mistake. Know this, that Edison is leading the national standard on food allergy awareness. And thank you so much to the administration and the council for being so supportive of this legislation. Thank you.
Council President,
yes, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman Joshi, and I appreciate you adding in sulfites because I almost lost my wife on my honeymoon because she did go into anaphylactic shock, and until you see something like that, you don't understand. I mean, I didn't understand what was going on, and I needed help quick with a doctor. But thankfully, in the Bahamas, there was an Indian doctor there that saved my wife's life, and my son-in-law-to-be is allergic to shellfish. So I do appreciate this, and I'll be supporting this on Wednesday night. Thank you.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman. I also applaud Councilman Joshi for this ordinance. It's extremely important, and as he stated, and Councilman Sandelsky just stated, that it's an area where there's really no room for error. You can't afford to make a mistake. You can't tell someone, I'm sorry, that they didn't know about the food allergens. With that said, and I'm a person that deals with this in my day-to-day livelihood, and I take it extremely seriously. With that said, we have a lot of eateries here in Edison, and we have a lot of caterers here in Edison. We do a lot of catering, and there's a lot of restaurants. And we are proposing an ordinance that deals with all of them. We're all within the boundaries of Edison. And I think that we have a little bit of a responsibility with our health department to work with